And we're off. We're off to the races.
I need a short drink or a long prayer. I've been sober, but I don't care. I'm so scared of my own self. I get no help, and that's no fair. So don't go there. I've been hell and back. I got scorched hair in this Gucci cap. I got empty bottles and a million follows. I regret swallowing the Ativan.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mike Files. It's the day after the 4th of July. July 5th, Monday, 2021, the year of our Lord. I have a very special guest in house tonight. My youngest brother. Welcome Bernie File, all the way from Eugene, Oregon. He's out here visiting, came out for the 4th, and wanted to get him in the studio. So he's chilling. We're going to be chopping it up a little bit tonight. Probably rehashing some old silly stories, maybe some haberdashery of the past. And we'll see where this goes. All right.
Bernie, brother.
What up?
My brother from the same mother. Welcome to the studio.
I love it. It's crazy.
It's good to have you here, man.
I thought you were doing this out of the garage, man. The studio is tits.
Yeah, it's a little better than the garage,
Yeah.
you know. So what's been happening, man? What's been going on? What you been doing while you've been here? You been hanging out with class reunions and shit like that?
Yeah, just seeing, I don't know, I guess a few friends that I wanted to see.
Yeah, seeing all the old beer fucks.
Well, way more of those than I would have liked to. But
Yeah, that's the nature.
no, it was cool because, I mean, I think it's been like 6-7 years since I've been back here. So
It's been a
I
while.
definitely like reconnected with some people that I've really missed, which is cool. And then, you know, like you said, you got the beer fucks that motherfuckers coming up to you, and it's like, I ain't seen you in 20 years.
How many times did you get asked? So what have you been up to?
Every time. And that's,
Did you
that's the
make shit
reason
up?
Yeah, I'm just, I'm a bullfighter.
I used to do the same
honestly,
thing.
like, the truth is even better. It's just like I live in Oregon and grow cannabis.
Right.
And then everybody's just like, well, yeah, big surprise. Of course, that's what you're up to. But, I mean, what was really funny is how many people I met, and I'm sitting there talking to them for like 5 minutes before I actually realize who they are.
Yeah, that's always a real treat.
But then there's also the motherfuckers that roll up on you that, like, you were never friends with, and they're, like, giving you hugs, and it's like, what? Okay.
Yeah, I know the
I
last...
never thought you thought so highly of me. It's good to see you, too.
Right, and it's always a fucking shit show. I just always love what have you been up to? What are you doing? Where are you? You know, it's like, it's like, I used to make shit up to different people. Like, one person would ask, and I'd say I've been robbing banks, or whatever.
Well, growing cannabis in Oregon was good enough.
Yeah,
I didn't have to make shit up. My life's been interesting enough.
But I mean, it's not like people don't anticipate that coming from you.
Precisely.
I mean, it's not a big fucking surprise there.
Yeah. It's like,
Bernie's growing weed. Weird. The guy that comes back from the fucking cannabis cup in fucking Amsterdam. Yeah.
Yeah, like junior or high school.
After I say, don't bring anything back. I'd never been so mad and happy with you in my life. Allegedly.
Some things go to the grave, Michael.
Allegedly.
Yes.
I think
indicted, never convicted.
I don't think there's anything from that really,
But I mean, so I do have to say, like, it was cool. And it was like kind of a strange class reunion because we were class of 2000, so it was supposed to happen last year, but pandemic shut everything down.
Oh, right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
So ours was like half-assed,
Yeah.
My buddy's wife, who graduated a year below us, like, it was her legit reunion, so they did it big.
Oh, so there's two classes that were doing it?
There was a bunch of class reunions over, I think there was like 4 or 5, like, over the 4th of July weekend.
So you probably had class of 91 was at 30.
Right.
That's
and
crazy.
So like ours was just a joke. There was like maybe 50 people here, and it seemed like every other person I talked to was like from Colorado. I'm like, why'd you go to Colorado? I'm like, well, because we didn't want to be here and we didn't know where else to go. Whereas, like, when we graduated, we're like, let's get the fuck away from Cody as far as we can go.
Well, I think the majority of kids that graduate from Cody High School, they end up in Laramie at UW, or they end up at Northwest, or they end up in the oil patch, or God knows where else.
Or they end up at the bar.
Or they stay here and work at Walmart.
And go to the bar every night.
Yep.
Every fucking night.
Hang out at the dollar.
The one bar in town.
The Dalai Lama.
It's like, what do you guys do here? Let's go to the dollar.
The last time I went in there, and I don't go in there, but it was like maybe a year ago.
No, I heard.
And they were
heard
playing
you
bingo.
Don't go in there.
They were playing bingo.
Really?
Bingo at the dollar. Oh, the last time I think I was in there was when Brothers Gal was in town. And that was one of their last shows, and so I went to that, and I think that was the last time. But maybe the time before that, I walked in and they're playing fucking bingo, and it's like you walk into the senior center. I'm like, is this the fucking Silver Dollar Bar?
This is the hot spot in town.
Yeah.
It's like
B24. B24.
We're fucking bingo.
Ladies and gentlemen, get out your daubers. B24. You know, and
so Saturday night was our reunion. So we met over at the golf course, and I mean there was our class was almost 200. Our graduating class was almost 200 people, and sadly enough, like probably 15 of us have already died. And a lot of them were in high school before they even graduated.
Yeah.
So it was a real low turnout. And then the golf course is just like trying to get people the hell out of there. They stopped feeding people, and I'm like, people have been drinking since like 10 o'clock.
Well, what sucks is my neighbors over here that they moved, but they were running it.
Okay.
And it was awesome. I mean, you know, I was a member over there, and I mean, Jackson and I we played golf all day, every day during the summer.
Right.
I ran the business off the golf course. They were my neighbors. They had great food. It was just a really cool scene. Like, we were real tight. Everybody over there was tight. Like, we had a really good group of people that would hang out, and it was a lot of fun. And then, the upper crust of the Olive Glen decided to step in and cause problems for them, and they ended up in a lawsuit, and they just finally said, fuck it, and they just got rid of it. And
I don't remember the last time I was in there because like where they have where they stuck all of us, that used to be the fucking swimming pool.
Yeah, that's
I haven't been over here.
Yeah, they
20
filled
years.
They filled that in a long time ago, and it was running really bad. Like, I mean, the first year I was a member, you'd go in there, and I'd go in and try and get like a Gatorade or something, and there'd be nobody in there. It'd be like nobody working. Like, you've got like an open bar, like no one's there, and you're like looking around like, hello, what the hell? You sit there, it's finally some girl pokes out and she's angry that you're sitting there, like, it's like, isn't this your job?
Right.
Like, what are you doing back there, eating cheese sticks, or what's going on here? But then they had
there's a bunch of drunk people over
Sure.
there because there was this picnic at like 10 o'clock in the morning. So some of these cats had been going since like 10.
Oh, yeah.
And they're trying to the little soiree over at the country club started at 7, and they're already sending people around saying that the kitchen is closed like at 8
on Saturday night.
And I'm sitting there looking at them like, you're going to keep feeding people alcohol, but like you're not going to feed, like you're not going to give them food. So finally the lady came back out. She's like, okay, well, for another hour, we're going to do popcorn chicken and cheese curds.
Oh,
and so everybody's
awesome.
like, okay, we want like 8 orders of popcorn chicken.
And all your cheese curds.
And that was funny because this guy, I'm probably not going to name drop, but this guy, he was definitely MVP for drunkest motherfucker. Like, there, he's just like, that's what he said. He's like, I want all the cheese curds. And this lady, the lady is like, well, how many orders is that? And I'm like, no, the bitch. Like, he literally like wants all of your cheese curds. Like, whatever you've got in the freezer, he wants them all.
Have you seen, do you ever watch Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
Ron Swanson, remember that one where he goes in and goes, I want all your bacon and eggs.
Yeah.
All your bacon and eggs.
Except this kid was no Ron Swanson.
I love Ron Swanson. That guy he's the best. He's great. I've been watching a bunch of those clips from that, Listen to that stupid cat. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I have a very ill-behaved black cat that's outside the door that wants in here and to chew on wires or shock himself. Or
I thought he was fluffy, but he's actually a fat fuck.
Yeah, he's not big boned or fluffy. He's fat.
Yeah,
and he eats rabbits and he fights owls.
That's a badass cat. Never mind. I ain't gonna talk shit
I was always worried.
Fat black cat who fights owls.
I was worried an owl was going to take him away until I heard it one night, and I went out in the front, and he's in the bushes, and this owl's trying to take him away, and he's just beating the shit out of it. But the owl got him pretty good too. But then he can be a whiny little. I never thought I'd be a dude that owned a cat. I never ever did.
Dude,
I'm not a cat person.
You're on your way to being the crazy cat man.
I might just have a plastic shopping bag full of cats at some point, just walking down the street and muttering to myself.
Just in a dirty bathrobe.
Just picking up spare cats along the way. Anybody who's got one.
Just open cats of tuna fish.
Just walking down the road and they're just like going in a whirling dervish around me. Just, yeah. Oh, God. I do not like cats. I mean, I wouldn't do, I mean, he's my cat now, apparently, but, it's a love-hate thing. Sometimes he's okay. I give him his shots, shave his ass when he needs it,
Gross.
Clean his litter box.
Fucking long hair cats.
Let him run around outside. And
you always got to clean the danglers off.
We definitely don't have a rodent or a rabbit problem around here anymore, though. The worst, though, is when he brings them in at night and he's sitting out there and he's eating them and he's like, the rabbit's still alive and he's like chewing the brain out of it. And you can hear the bones crunching and that rabbit will be sitting there kicking and you come in and you see him with it and you know what's going on. As soon as you hear that noise, I'm just like, God damn it, Leo.
Well, he's
come out and that thing's sitting there and it's got one leg doing this, and you're like, oh, geez, God damn. That's why I yell at Jax. Jackson, get a bag.
There's been another 187 on a rabbit,
Jesus.
Courtesy of Leo, the fat, fluffy,
when it became just
demonic, just sadistic black cat.
This was like maybe 3 years ago, and it was like the first day of school, and so I had the alarm set for like 6 because at that point in time, Jax liked to eat pancakes every morning. I'd get up and make him pancakes, and I had the mental alarm clock going on, so like the biological clock, like Kramer. And so it's like it's like it's like 5:55. I wake up and I can hear this, this squawking, screeching sound, and I'm like, what in the? So I get up, and I'm standing there in the hall in my boxers, and Jax's door's cracked open a little bit, and I can hear it coming from his room. And I go, Jax, what is that noise? He goes, I don't know, Dad. And so he opens the door, and here's two of us standing there at the end of the hall, both in our boxers, looking around, And I look in his room, and he turns around and he goes, holy shit, it's a fucking bird. And he puts his hand over his mouth.
No, I thought the story I heard is that he was just freaked out. He said, Jackson said, Leo brought in a fucking bird.
No, he goes, holy shit. He goes, it's a fucking bird. So he puts his hand over his mouth. And I said, don't worry about it. This is a situation where you can swear. And so I said.
So that was his first, like.
Oh, yeah, that was his first F-bomb in front of Dad. Yeah. And so, so I grabbed a towel out of the hall closet, and the bird takes off flying down, goes out in the kitchen, and it perches up on one of the poles on one of the upper cabinets, and it's sitting there, and the bird's just shaking, and Leo's just sitting there going, Wah! And I said, Jax, here's what's going to happen. And I said, I'm going to take that towel, and I'm going to go throw it over that bird. And I said, and you're going to get the cat, and you're going to grab him, and you're going to throw him out the back door, and I'm going to take the bird out the front. And the bird he hadn't hurt the bird. The bird was just scared. Like
really? So
he just brought it in and was playing with it. I mean, he'll do that sometimes.
Well,
and so I'm creeping.
Cats are evil motherfuckers.
So I'm creeping up on the bird, right? And all of a sudden the cat just takes off, and he leaps up on the counter, jumps up, grabs the bird in his mouth, and takes off the other way. And so he takes off, and he's skidding out on the linoleum. I throw the towel over him. He flops into the wall. So I tell Jax, I'm like, okay, I'm getting the bird out of his mouth. You grab the cat. So I reach in there. I'm thinking I'm going to come out with a bloody hand. And he's got the bird in his mouth, but he's not really clamped down on it. He's still in that play. So I get the bird out, right? So I got the bird. It's alive. So I go out the front door. I yell at Jax, throw him out the back door. I let the bird go. The bird goes hippity hopping off. And I look up, and here comes Leo around the side of the house at Mach 90 and just scoops that thing up and just crunch. He had it, and he just sat there and ate it out in the front yard. And I was just like, oh, God. And I looked at Jackson. I was just like, he goes, I'm sorry I said that, Dad. Let's just don't worry about it,
Do you watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I haven't watched any TV within like the last 3 years, but I do watch. I did used to.
Have you ever seen the episode where like they're trying to go to like the animal rights conference?
Yeah.
And so like Frank D and I forget, no, because it's Mac, D, and Frank who get stranded, and that it's Dennis and Charlie who actually go to the fundraiser. Yeah, because like Tom Sizemore's weird truck driver character talking about lot lizards and shit, but
he always played.
So like, but it's like Mac D and Frank, and they find a rabbit and they can't eat it, and Dee calls him like Peter Nickel Eater or something, and they're like,
Yeah.
it's a wild animal, you gotta let it go. And as soon as she lets it go, like this rabbit goes running across the street, and a hawk just comes down.
Yeah,
swoops it up and,
yeah, gone. No, that was awesome.
So the moral of the story is don't get attached to animals because they're all going to get dead one way or another.
Right, including us.
Yeah.
Sorry, it shuts down every once in a while, the camera. When you hear it do that, it clicks off. It's a anti-heat thing.
I was told I do not like to be photographed. I'm not very photogenic.
Yeah, you're looking good now.
Well, okay, maybe it's just me.
Yeah,
Because usually I hate the sound of my own voice too, but you got a nice setup here. It sounds decent.
Well, it's pretty cool when you hear yourself on here, isn't it? I know the first time I did, I was almost terrified of it when I ordered this thing, and then when it showed up and it was all hooked up, and Buddy hooked it all up, and he's like, "Have you ever heard yourself on a condenser?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Come in here," and I sat down. I was like, "Whoa."
Well, I think it's because we're older too. Because like when you're young, you hate the sound of your voice, but.
Yeah, and
we've both had to have jobs where you kind of have to be social,
right?
Sort of learn how to like modulate your voice. And
I suffer from voice modulation.
Yeah,
Was that a Will Ferrell sketch? I suffer from voice modulation. I can't hear them.
Yeah, exactly. So I think for me, like that job was like having to be a server to like go through college to have a couple of bucks, and you kind of have to like actually feel how to be a. Not just your normal jackass self.
Yeah, that's you put yourself in some of those positions, and you kind of learn how to communicate a little bit, I guess.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So what else went on with the reunion? So you guys went to the country club, and then they just served cheese curds and chicken strips or whatever, and then you left and went to the Dollar.
Yeah, after like an hour and a half.
Was it packed down there?
Oh God, it was fucking insane because it was the third.
Right.
So,
I didn't know how it was going to be this year, and I have no desire to go out there anymore ever. I don't care what holiday it is. You're not going to find me down there.
No, it was stupid. So I think that was like the third time I'd been down there because anytime I've actually gone and hung out with friends in town, that's the only game in town. So
right, it's either that or you go over to that Brugard's, and then you've got so many cops over there that they're everywhere anyways. I mean,
which was hilarious because I kept seeing Tom's buddy John, the cop, and the first time I saw him, I was just like John,
right,
and he's all like, Mike. It's like, what? Who are you? And I'm like, no,
what the?
He's like, you almost got it right. I'm the one that you don't remember.
Yeah.
He's like, Bernie?
Oh, John's a good dude.
No, he was. And so, like, he shook my hand. And my other buddy, it was hilarious, who fancies himself like a big shit or something. And he's like, well, if you remember Bernie, you must remember me. And John looks at him. He's like, fucking no idea.
What's your name? Pickle Shits?
Yeah, pretty much.
Mr. Bigglesworth?
Like, I'm a regional manager of the Olive Garden. They call me the breadstick king of the Midwest.
I drive a Dodge Stratus. You don't talk to me like
Well,
that.
he's actually got like a $40,000 Ford something or other, and he's like, that's what Alfredo money buys you.
Oh yeah, that's what you get from that soup and salad.
But so like the first couple of nights we went down there, it was like on a Sunday and a Monday, and it was dead as shit. So it was kind of fun because got to hang out with some friends. But no, on Saturday when we went down there, which would have been the third. I don't know if y'all know where we come from, but the 4th of July is like Christmas, New Year's, your fucking birthday, Halloween, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah,
for hillbillies,
Chinese New Year. I mean,
I went off on this the other day on just a little solo podcast about the 4th of July.
Because it didn't seem as big this year, but there's sure still like, I mean, this town, like, like way back in the day when me and Mike were growing up. I mean, I remember the biggest year, dude. We had almost 100,000 people in this town.
Yeah.
And this is a town of 10,000 people.
Yeah,
so you gotta imagine like how that jumps off.
Oh, it gets crazy. And last year, I mean, we were still in the whole pandemic thing, and the town was packed because it was there was a no mask mandate. There was everybody wanted to get out of the city.
Parades and the rodeo and
everybody wanted to get out of the cities, and so they came here because they're like, we got to get the hell out of here.
In Oregon, it's like shit. Like stay inside.
Yeah, getting like mask shamed when you go out. Like nobody out here.
That's what's funny. Like the pandemic was actually great for the cannabis industry.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sure it was.
That
in the liquor store.
Well, actually, it was funny because I've got a couple of friends who own or manage liquor stores out in Oregon and Portland, and they were like, "Yeah, like in-store sales are up, but we're actually down from last year because they couldn't distribute to the restaurants because all the restaurants were closed."
Now out there, that's through the OLCC. So do private citizens actually own a liquor store out there, or is it owned by Oregon State?
You own it, but
okay, but you have to run. You have to run through.
So OLCC actually regulates all the farms too.
Really?
So there's no separate arm to regulate cannabis.
I didn't know that.
It was supposed to be temporary.
Wow. That makes sense. So, I mean, I had to take...
But what's cool is, like, OLCC inspectors are so overwhelmed, especially during the pandemic, because they had to start going to all these restaurants full-time to make sure that they were in compliance, that they basically, like, didn't have time to deal with cannabis.
What did they do in Oregon for restaurants? Did they separate people? Did they shut them down to where they could only serve outside, or did they just have carry-out?
We had a bunch of risk levels.
Right.
So you'd be, like, extreme risk, high risk, medium risk, low risk. And so whatever county you were in at whatever risk level dictated like how many people
you operated.
So if you were at extreme risk, it was like
curbside takeout.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody comes out with a mask and rubber gloves.
If you were like high risk, you could do outdoor seating. If you got to like the medium risk level, then you could have like, you know, I think it was like 25% capacity indoor.
So what did they do? They just took the numbers of positive COVID-19 tests, and then they equated that to the per capita. So it was just a per capita thing based on.
It was based more on that than actual numbers. It was a percentage of new cases per population per county
per time period.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a crazy deal.
Well, I mean, a lot of us didn't agree with it. We kind of, we refer to Oregon as the People's Republic of Oregon.
Right. Well, and, Oregon's like two different states, though.
Well, yeah, and that's why like half the state wants to become part of Idaho.
Right.
I don't know if you've been following greater Idaho, which is never going to fucking happen.
Everybody out in Rufus and Doofer wants to go be from Idaho.
Yeah, and both like the...
You from Rufus or Doofer?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean... It's all just they do nothing. So honestly, like, all of the culture, all of the money, like all of the cool things about Oregon happen on that like short I-5 corridor, basically between Portland and Eugene, and that's where all the people are too.
Yep.
So we're just kind of like, yeah, if you guys out in Sagebrush land who just buy guns want to go to Idaho, like fuck you, great.
Washington State's the same way too.
Right.
Like we used to go out to Soap Lake, and we'd go out there and they'd call us coasties. I mean, it was like, it was honestly like you're in Wyoming. I mean, you cross over, you go over the Cascades, and it's a different state, which is fine, and it's whatever, and it just different mentalities and everything. It's just weird living in a state like that where it's just, you just got that line.
And I do understand people's frustration because it is, it's where the population is between Portland and Eugene.
Sure.
So obviously we're going to be the ones that have a larger voice, but we're also...
And burn more things down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I don't know.
Well,
we don't even need to get into all that shit.
No, it is funny because Antifa and all of the other side of that.
Yeah.
The militias, the Patriot Prayers, 3%ers. It's weird. I stay out of it, but
yeah, it's best to. It's just I don't know. We're in a weird time right now in this country.
Oh man,
it's very bizarre. I mean, it's just
it's a huge microcosm out there like Portland, and even in Eugene, which Eugene was always kind of supposed to be like, oh, peace, love, hippies,
right. Yeah, that's all. I
mean,
what
some of the shit that's gone down over there the past couple of years, you're just like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
I remember the first time I went to Eugene, I think it was back in 96, 97 maybe. Five and I rolled through there and we went to a farmer's market, and it was cool, man.
Right.
It was cool. I mean, I was like, this is awesome.
Fair.
And then when I moved down there, it was cool. It was like, everybody was cool. Everybody was just, it was a mellow place to be. Like, Yeah, you had too many white people with dreadlocks, which I'm not a big proponent of. I mean, if you're white,
No,
dude,
I'm
you're
not a
white
fan
dude,
of
you probably don't cut them shits off,
But whatever. They were all like the Trustafarians, so like they had to cut them off at graduation so they could go get jobs at Chase Bank or whatever.
Or Uncle Toad's or what is the name of that? Trader Joe's. Uncle Toad's.
No, I knew so many guys like in college that
I knew a bunch of
dready hippies, and then like you see them like 5 years after graduation. It's like, what are you guys doing? And they're all clean cut, wearing suits. I work in finance.
Yeah,
it's like, but you were anti-establishment. I thought, well,
got to make that money. I got to pay off my $200,000 in loans.
Well, no, their parents paid it off.
Right.
These were also the kids with dreadlocks who were driving BMWs and Mercedes, and it's like, oh, okay.
I also knew an equal amount of them that went through the college and they got like degrees in gender studies and shit like that, and they ended up being baristas.
Yeah, right. I mean, I spent 8 years like in professional kitchens.
Yeah,
working my ass off, and I was actually I loved it. I was good at it, but man, that shit takes its toll.
It'll beat on you.
But it was amazing how many like people I knew that were servers, bartenders, and they're like, we're
in the restaurant business too. Like
we're $40,000 in debt, and we're making the same amount as you, and you were smart enough to go to community college, get your transfer degree.
The restaurant business is crazy too because it's one of the trades, or I don't know if you call it trade, but it's one of the professions that. I mean, that's one of the highest positions that, as far as drug use goes.
Oh, yeah.
Drug addiction. I mean, that's a tough job. People don't understand how difficult it is. I mean, you just prep, and then just get slammed. Mm-hmm. Stress. I mean, I've done it, and it's hard.
I've worked every position in a restaurant.
Right. I have too.
Front and back of the
Same
house.
here. Same here. I've bartended and done.
I didn't know you ever got up to like kitchen manager.
Oh, I was at Mountain Hood Ski Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't anything like where you were at. It wasn't like
honestly,
it wasn't a huge kitchen, but yeah, I managed that. And
I think like the easiest jobs that I ever had in a restaurant were the beginning entry level job I had, which was fucking dish bitch.
Yeah.
And then manager.
I know a lot of guys who've gone up to manager and they want to go back to dish pit.
Well, dude,
they want to go back to be an oil guy.
Dude, and that's the thing. Like,
they just don't like the stress and everything they have to deal with, and dealing with the people.
I never found like being a manager that stressful because I was just a tyrant.
Yeah, and that's what you have to be. You can't be a nice guy.
I would try to be too. I mean, if like people were doing like a legitimately great job, then like they were rewarded. But
yeah,
it was also like you're gonna come into work like drunk and be like, I'm so hungover. Yeah. It's like, dude, well, guess who's doing the fucking floor drains tonight?
Yeah.
Bitch?
Well, and I was always
everybody's hungover. Don't complain about it.
Right. And I used to be the same way with almost any job I ever had. I always ended up being the hatchet man, is what they'd always call me, because anybody that was fucking up, the boss would always be like, "Hey, Mike, take care of this,"
But it's tough, like when you're working like in a kitchen where you've only been there for like a year and a half. And some of these other cats are like,
lifers.
Yeah, and then like the last thing like the head chef says before he leaves is like, keep an eye on these motherfuckers, keep them in line, and everybody,
Yeah.
So it automatically kind of becomes like a hate relationship. So It's like, well, okay, if this is the position I'm in, I'm gonna own it, and I don't give a fuck if you guys don't like me. You're gonna do what's
that's what I mean. And even with owning my own company, I mean, when I had a lot of guys working for me, I mean, I'd crack the whip, and I was a motherfucker. I expected things done a certain way, but I also would tell them this. I'd say, listen, if you guys have come from someplace where you know how to do something that I'm asking you to do in this way, and you know a better way, more efficient to do it, then tell me.
Boom.
I'm like, and guess what? You'll probably get a raise, and we'll start doing it that way. If it's better, more efficient. I said, I don't have that ego where I'm going to sit here and just say, you're doing it my way or the highway.
No.
And if you figure out a way to do it better, I'm like, approach me and tell me about it. And
and you're always a highly approachable person.
Well, and it helps, if you approach things like that. I mean, you can be you've got to demand respect and make sure that.
But you also got to always have your door open.
Of course. And if somebody has a legit
right.
A legit option or an answer to something, and it's better than I'm not beyond saying, hey, dude,
right.
That's awesome. Guess what? Your next check is going to reflect a little bit of a bonus because guess what? They just helped me out, right? Like you showed me something. I mean, I've been doing this shit for years. It's like
because I've had bosses that are the other way too.
Oh, I have too.
Yeah, like you said, the my way or the highway.
Yeah, I've had them where I've had them where I've figured stuff out where it's like, hey, boss. Maybe we ought to think about trying it this way, and they just get pissed. Yeah, they don't even want to listen to it, and it's like,
well, that's when you go fuck off and find a better job.
That's exactly what usually happened with me. That's usually when I would quit and
then
walk away.
2 or 3 years down the road, you're like, I wonder why that company went out of business.
Yeah, kind of weird, but yeah, I don't know. It's crazy, man. So Eugene, has Eugene picked back up? Is it like a school back in session and everything?
It just reopened last Wednesday.
The university did?
No, the state.
Wow.
Everything had still been shut down, like
Jesus
running
Christ.
at like half capacity. We were all still doing the social distancing.
Masks.
You couldn't go into a store without a face mask.
You know what? That's the stupidest shit in the world.
So that shit just ended on Wednesday.
Wow.
So I've been out here
Since
in the goddamn Wild West, and like I said, on Saturday down at the fucking Dollar.
Yeah.
Like it was just ass to elbows.
Oh yeah, it's been.
So it's actually been pretty cool to come out here because now I'll be ready to go back to like Eugene and be like, hey, we don't have to wear masks. We can get back to normal.
Yeah.
But it's also Eugene, so people are probably still going to be wearing masks.
And that's the thing. That's what's crazy too.
I don't want to like get into like the argument, but yeah, I got vaccinated.
I was just going to ask you if you did.
And the only reason I want to do that is because I just really wanted to travel comfortably again.
Yeah.
Because it fucking sucked.
Well, and that's
being on an airplane, dude. And that's funny. You go to the airports and they're still like, keep like on the intercom. They're like, wear your face masks, keep your distance. But then they just pack you together like fucking sardines on the plane.
Yeah. And see, I'm supposed to fly to Atlanta the beginning of next month.
Oh, you're gonna love it, dude.
And I was going to go out there. I was going to go out.
And God bless.
Well, I was going to go out there for Pook's birthday. Shout out K Pook. And we had the tragic thing happen here, and I had to stick around, and I didn't go, but I really was not looking forward to that trip because I haven't been vaccinated, and I'm not going to because I had COVID already and went through it, and so not going to
Will you ever get vaccinated, or are you just kind of one of the people that's like on the fence and sort of like, well, let's see how people that are vaccinated,
I want to see how it plays out because it's an RNA vaccination.
Yeah,
and that's
mRNA.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a little bit of a different thing than they've ever done. But the thing
is,
you
have to understand too that medical scientists have been working on mRNA for since like the 70s.
There's a lot to this thing there's a lot of facets to this thing.
My buddy who's a second in command of anesthesiology down in Cheyenne.
Mm-hmm. Talking about Mike.
Yeah, we were. I was talking with him about it. He's like, yeah, I mean, the God's honest truth is just nobody really knows yet.
Well, now you've got all the deviants too that are happening.
Variants,
whatever you call them, deviants variants. Where it's
still the same thing. No,
and then you got this Fauci,
but see, that's one of the, the more people that are actually vaccinated, though, like the more control these variants.
Here's my thing.
Be.
Yeah.
But so I have no problem with someone who, because I have plenty of friends, even out in the People's Republic of Oregon.
Yeah.
Even in Eugene.
Right.
Who are like, I'm just not sure about it yet. I want to wait and see how it goes. And it's a very personal decision to do it.
I agree.
And I have no problem with that. The problem that I have is with the people that are like, Bill Gates is injecting you with microchips.
Yeah. And I'm
and that's like
my stance on it is it's a personal decision, and I feel like if the vaccine is actually something that works and you get vaccinated, then you shouldn't have to worry about those who didn't get vaccinated. And if you make the decision not to get vaccinated and you get sick, then that's your choice too, and that's something you're going to have to deal with.
Right.
And I think it comes down to personal decision. But if the thing actually works and you decide to get it, then you really shouldn't be concerned about anybody else because you know what, it's their choice, and I don't care. I mean. I have a lot of friends that have taken the vaccine. I don't care. What am I going to do? Sit here and come down? I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I think vaccines are, a lot of them are, very good things. And you look at
do we really still want like polio?
No, exactly. measles, mumps, and rubella. Yeah. I mean, I personally,
the only reason, probably the shots if you had, you know, I mean,
yeah, not since prison.
Well, okay.
And then they were trying to give
about kids. Like
I remember they were trying to.
We were always stepping on rusty.
Oh yeah,
nails, like,
no. When I went in there, I had to get a booster. I remember going into the nurse, and it was me and this dude Eddie Crawford were sitting there, and yeah, go ahead. We can just edit it out. You can hear what I'm saying, anyways. But no, we go in there, right? We're sitting in the nurse's office because they do it 2 by 2. So we go in, and like this dude was like a wide receiver for Texas A&M or whatever, you know. And we're sitting there, and the nurse gets out the little vial, and it's cloudy as fuck. Like, I mean, it looks like almost like fucking milk, you know. And Eddie looks at her, and he's like, "That don't look right." And she goes, "It's fine." And I said, "What's the date on that?" And she looks at the date on the little vial, and it had been like expired by like fucking 5 years. You know, she's just getting ready to just shoot us up with it. And she was like, "Oh God, thank you know." She threw it away and got a different one out that was actually not expired. But that was the last time I had a tetanus shot. And
well, they stuck me with everything they could, like prior to the pandemic, because I mean, you know, I told you the story. I had to have the brain surgery,
right? Yeah.
And then, like, I was on the sidelines for like 4.5, 5 months, and right when I got cleared to get back to work,
then all of a sudden, boom,
pandemic shutdown. And nobody was stricter than Oregon, but I mean,
well, it first hit in Washington State, so you're right there. I mean, that was
all right. And then look at what happened to California.
Right.
And now look at the statistics of what happened in Oregon. So a lot of people were unhappy with the way the governor went about it, but in hindsight, she made the right decisions.
Well, it's one of those things too that you can Monday morning quarterback it all you want, but when you're in the middle of something like this happening, it's like you have to make the choices that you feel are right.
And like the governor in Oregon, she's kind of a bitch, but it's exactly like you said. She was like making her best informed decision.
It's a difficult thing because it's not something that we've dealt with,
and we came out on top as opposed to, like you were saying, Washington or California, and we're sandwiched between them. So obviously we did something right that those other states didn't do. And I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, but I do understand that like as far as the West Coast goes, Washington was kind of like ground zero.
Yeah.
And California is fucking California. So obviously, like once it got down there, it was just going to spread.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then the bad thing down there, too, is once you shut down California's homelessness problem was already an epic problem in California. I mean, they had poop patrol in San Francisco. I was spending a lot of time in Los Angeles. I mean, over the last number of years up until this happened, I mean, I was in LA probably 4 to 5 to 6, 7, 8 times a year.
Did I ever say that?
Holy crap, no, you didn't.
Frankenstein, right?
Jesus Cristinetti.
So that was Thanksgiving 2019.
Jesus.
And then
was the black eye from that?
No, that was because my brain was so askew that they said I had to lie on the side where the incision was.
I wish Ricardo was over here right now. He's my new co-host, and Ricardo went.
Yeah. And he had to have it.
Yeah, he one day his eye just turned straight. You can listen to one of the podcasts with him, and he's going to be like my new co-host. But shout out Ricardo. I wish you were here, brother.
Hey, I'd love to meet you, Ricardo. We could share a brain trauma story.
So he had a situation where he'd his job sent him to Maryland. He was living in Baltimore.
Right.
And he was running a finance team for a big company, living a good life, family, kid, whatever. And all of a sudden he wakes up one morning and his eyeball is completely red.
So he had like a ocular hemorrhage.
He went to see the optometrist, and the optometrist said, "No, you got to go see a neurologist." And so
it was deeper than that.
It was he had what he calls a brain injury. So he had this tumor from the time he was born, and it just kept metastasizing and growing and growing and growing.
Oh shit!
And it put so much pressure on his
blood vessels. It gave him the ocular hemorrhage.
So they gave him an 8% chance to live, and he went into the neurologist, and they came up with a procedure plan. They were going to do 6 different surgeries, and they were going to take this thing out in 6 chunks because it was so big. So he goes in for the first procedure, and they get inside his brain, and they realize that this thing is too big to go through 6 of these. They have to get it out.
Which that's
So
like
he spent
that's 100 times worse than what I
so he
went
spent 16 hours,
Yeah.
and then when he came out, they put him in a coma. He said he remembered coming out. He looked at his wife and he kind of remembered who she was. And then they put him in a coma, and he was in a coma for like 3 weeks. And then he came out and he didn't remember anything about who he was. All his college education, he couldn't do his job anymore. He said he had to.
And he like forgot how to speak Spanish, but he's still speaking.
That's
with
what we were
like
talking.
a Mexican accent.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about the other night.
That's
Because apparently while he was in the coma, they asked his wife, "Well, do you want him to learn Spanish or English?" And she said, "Well, we're in the United States, so." And his wife is from here, from Cody, and she said, "Well, we're in the United States, so I guess if we have to make a decision, then English." And so that's how they started like bringing him back was with English, and he still has to go in and listen to like recordings of things and stuff to kind of. He said 3 years he had nothing. Like he would wake up. He said he had to, every night before he went to bed. He said it was sleep initiated. If he took a nap, he'd wake up and he didn't remember who he was, who his wife was, who his kid was, where he worked, where he lived. He said every night before bed he'd get on his phone and he'd have to make notes about what he'd done that day, who he was, who his wife was,
Like fucking Memento.
where he lived, how he gets to work.
Does he have a bunch of like tattoos,
right,
like written backwards? So
and so he said he'd set his alarm like 30 minutes before his wife every day, and he'd have to wake up, and the first thing he'd do is look at his phone. He said he got used to doing that, and so he'd look and he'd have to retrain himself about who he was, and then go about his day, and then they put him back in the same job, but he didn't remember any of his. He didn't remember his education.
He had a tumor removed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So see, like what I had, it was just a subdural hematoma. So
which is like a big like blood, like almost like a blood clot, or is it
it's like a blood blister on your brain,
like between your brain and your skull?
Yeah, because you have like the dura, which are like it's a 3-layered membrane on your brain.
Right.
So what a subdural hematoma is blood starts leaking out of your brain between those two membranes. So it's basically like a blood blister.
Yeah, your brain is hemorrhaged, or is it? Did they ever figure out how it happened?
It's a hematoma. Well, no, it was because I had the blood clot in my leg a year prior to that, so I was on blood thinners. And my fucking insurance wouldn't cover the good blood thinners, so I had to go on Coumadin.
Yeah.
Or warfarin. And
which is rat poison.
Yeah. Like back in the 20s, that shit was, not hard, but like a century ago, that shit was created as rat poison.
Yeah.
Because they just sprinkle it around and rats would eat it and bleed the fuck out internally.
Just sprinkle some crack on them.
So, I mean, the thing about that is like when I first had to go on warfarin, I had to go get blood work done like 3-4 times a week until they could nail in the dose. So they couldn't figure it out, and I was probably taking way too much of it, and all it took like was a tiny bump on the head.
Well, that was like my buddy Rick. He and you met Rick when he was alive. Rest in peace, Rick. And he was on all those different blood thinners, man. And I mean, I tell you what, he would nick. I mean, just barely touching his hand.
Right.
Or, I mean, he'd nick his face shaven, and he would just bleed all day.
And he was probably on warfarin or Coumadin. The thing is there are a bunch of really efficient, less dangerous blood thinners out there.
Yeah.
But your fucking insurance won't cover them. So when I first had the blood clot, I was on, I forget what it was called.
Jesus.
But so I got like a voucher for 2 free months of it. But this is a medication that you were supposed to be on for like 6 months.
Right.
And so after my 2 free months ran out, they were like, well, yeah, this is going to cost like $1,200 a month.
For a fucking pill.
Yeah. And then because it's still patented.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean,
so they're like, oh, never mind. If you can't afford that, you still need to be on blood thinners. Here, have some rat poison.
Yeah, we're going to take you off that shit. Now you get this.
Well, but the thing is like it was more expensive in the long run because every time you had to go get that blood work done that I had to have done. I mean, that's like,
Well, so it probably did.
That's like $350. So it all adds up. And if I have to do that 3 to 4 times a week for 2 months until they can nail down my dose, it's like, isn't it better to just give me the shit that I can just pop 1 pill a day and is a lot less risky?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you is like when you went from the high end stuff to the warfarin, did it messed with your blood levels? Like they had to so you had to get redialed in, basically. Like they had to.
Well,
they
dude,
like had to figure out so it didn't have. It was a
the
totally
initial,
different effect.
Yeah, and the initial stuff I was on, it was just like we don't need to give you blood work,
Right?
Because this is like such a great medication. It's awesome.
You gotta love big pharma.
Yeah. So thank you, Big Pharma. Go fuck yourselves.
Yeah. We can allocate fucking billions and billions and billions on the fucking military industrial complex, but we can't take care of our own fucking citizens, and we got fucking hundreds of thousands of homeless people, and but hey, we can go blow up brown people.
I want to say like Xarelto.
Yeah, that sounds right. I've heard of that one.
I mean, so many.
Who knows? There's so many names.
Yeah,
Xarelto, Xarelto.
Yeah, so many
Kanaka.
medication names start with an X. It's just,
X and a Z. Zanateka. Zacatez.
So yeah, I mean, basically, if they would have just kept me on that medication,
then
then none of that shit would have happened.
Yeah.
And my medical bills ended up being $350,000.
Oh my God.
But thankfully, I live in the People's Republic of Oregon, so taxpayers had to pay for that shit.
Right.
So do the math. $350,000 would have kept me on like the good blood thinner.
Oh, for sure. And you would have
for the rest of my life, and I'd be fine.
Well, would it have eliminated the blood clot too, to where you wouldn't have to take it anymore?
It would have kind of stopped it, but like,
could they do a surgery to remove that?
It's really dangerous. Like to go.
So
in
that was in your.
like,
that was like in your leg.
Yeah, it was like the ankle.
Did you knew like they had it pinpointed where it was at?
I knew where it was at.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I went in the emergency room and I was like, I know exactly what's going on.
And tell me about because when I talked to you when you initially went in for the thing with your brain, I remember you telling me that the reason you went into the emergency room is because you had a headache and you'd never got headaches before.
Yeah, I had like.
And so you had the presence of.
I had excruciating headaches.
So you had the presence of mind to go in the emergency room and you didn't come out again. You went in that day. You didn't come back out.
No.
Not until they had done the procedure.
No. And the neurosurgeon was like, I can't believe you came in because we just caught this. Because if you would have left it for like another week and a half, it would have fucking killed you.
Yeah, so just having the presence of mind.
But again, I'm fucking Wolverine. So, I'm in
but I mean, having the presence of mind to say, I got that, like, this is not right, I'm going in. Because me, I'm a dumbass. Like, I won't go in the damn
So I guess, like, giving a shout to anybody, don't be a dumbass if you feel like there's something seriously wrong with your body. Like,
go get it checked out.
Go to a fucking doctor. But then again, we live in, a lot of people don't have insurance. A lot of people live in states that they're not as lucky as like we are in Oregon, where it's like.
Yeah, well, look at all there's so many homeless out there too. I've talked to a lot of homeless people, and it's been one medical emergency that bankrupts them, and they lose their home, they lose their marriage, their kids, they lose everything, and then they're on the street. Because of a medical emergency.
Well,
now,
I'll tell you what, then ridiculous. They probably end up with better health insurance being homeless than they do when they were getting like corporate health insurance.
Probably, and it's
because
pathetic.
We have what's called OHP, the Oregon Health Plan.
Right.
And every homeless person gets that.
Yeah. Well, that's,
And it's not the greatest, but like I said, I was on it. I was on OHP.
Well, it's a good thing. I mean, thank God they had that for you because... I mean, you look at some.
And I wasn't homeless or anything, but it was the way, like, the blood, it was at the beginning of the fiscal year for Oregon. Yeah. And so I was out for like 2 months with like a broken ankle, and then the blood clot happened. So, I mean, I could barely work, but I was also working on a cannabis farm that we were in the process of building, and I was working with a bunch of jackasses. So I'm having to like this is out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like on dirt trails on fucking crutches.
Yeah, I know. I went out and picked you up out there.
Yeah, and you didn't even come on.
I know. I didn't even come on the property. I just stopped at the gate.
Yeah.
But what a crazy deal, man. Yeah, because I mean, I talk to homeless people. I mean, I like to talk to them because I like to find out. I mean, I like to first of all, I like to show people that I care. That I give a shit about them, like that they're not just like you're just a fucking homeless fucking dirtbag, and I'm not going to talk to you. It's like I want to. I'll walk up to dudes and be like, hey, or what, like, hey, how you doing, man?
It's because so many people that are in that situation actually have a story about how they got there.
And it's crazy. Most of them are crazy.
It pisses me off when you see like the little street urchins that are like, dude, you're like.
Dude, there was one that used to hang
in their life, and they're probably runaways. But dude, I've met so many kids out in Eugene that are just like, I just love the street life.
There was one girl that lived up to
me is like fucked up because not only is like you're totally fine to work, you have no issues. Like, go get a fucking job. You just want to be a bum. Well, yeah, and it's that, but it's also like you're giving people that are actually have no choice but to be in that situation like a bad name.
Well, exactly.
So the people that actually need help can't receive it because you're being a selfish little fucking prick that just wants to go
just be a jackass.
Live on the streets and fucking do drugs all day.
When I was up in Seattle,
there was fine if you want to do drugs all day, but get an apartment and go do it.
There was a guy, there was a professor at Western Washington University when I lived in Seattle, and he took a year's sabbatical, and what he did was he sat on a bucket on the side of the interstate and had a sign that said homeless vet. And he pulled.
Was he a vet?
No, he was a teacher at Western Washington. He was a professor, but he was a sociology professor. So he takes a year sabbatical, and what he does is he goes and sits on a bucket with us, and he donated all the money to charity.
Or hopefully to
he did. But he wanted to see what he was going to make, so he made over $100,000 in that year, sitting there on the side of the interstate on a bucket with a sign that said homeless vet.
Wow.
Please help, and sat there on a bucket and pretty much joined the homeless community, and he wrote a book about it. And he donated the money. I mean, he didn't need the money. He just wanted to see, like, he was a sociology professor. He was curious about the lifestyle, how much money people were making doing this, and just he kind of ingratiated himself with the homeless community, which the fact that he gave the money to the people that needed it, that was pretty cool. But it was crazy to hear that he made over $100,000 just sitting on a bucket like that.
No, it is not. Tax free.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
that's the thing. If you're working your ass off, you make $100,000. Uncle Sam's going to take at least 38% of it.
Right. But anyway, crazy shit, man.
No, it's tough.
Yeah, I was going to say there was a girl that was up the street from us when I lived up there in the Alderwood Apartments in Eugene. And she would park behind there was a Carl's Jr. and Burrito Brothers or something like that?
Burrito Boy,
yeah, right there on the corner there.
I mean, shit has changed.
She would park, she had like a brand new Subaru Outback, right? And
because that was like,
she had a dog.
Were, like, living there in...
it was 99.
When I came
2000,
out there.
2001. But she had a brand new. She had a brand new.
What was that? Your third blonde bitch?
Oh God, yeah. Let's not get into that. But she had a brand new Subaru Outback. She had she'd wear like Columbia and North Face coats and shit, and she would park behind Burrito Boy. And she had a dog. She had like this German Shepherd, and she would take all of her stuff off. I saw her doing this one day, right? Because she'd sit on that corner every day. And so I was sitting there at that light one day, and I look over and I see her doing this. And I see what car she's in, because I'd seen her on the corner all the time, but I never saw how she was. I just figured she lived across the way in the mill race with all the nutrias or something. and so I mean, I pull up there and she, she had this sign saying about how she needed dog food. She's got a brand new vehicle, brand new clothing. She trades it out and puts all this disheveled crap on, and then sits on a bucket, and that's what she'd do every day.
Right.
And I was just like, the next time I saw her and she tried to talk to me, I was just like, fuck you. I mean, I remember the first day I was there, we were at Fred and Clay's out on that back balcony, and we're out there drinking beer. And like Clay finishes a beer. Clay finishes a beer and he just chucks it in the alley. Doesn't even, and I said, what are you doing, dude? He goes, watch. And sure enough, there's they fucking come running out and fucking scoop it up, man. Yeah, like little cockroaches, man. So, I mean, I had the funnest time that weekend. I was sitting up there drinking beer and we're just chucking cans, and watching them all come out from the kind of dumpsters and shit. And, they didn't like the guy. There was one that had a tricycle that they hated because he had a tricycle with a basket. Then there was one guy who'd saved up enough that he had a Toyota with a wire basket around the back, and they hated him because he was like, he had the can game going. And I heard now, though, you can't, it's what, like you can only turn in like $10 a day at a...
No, that's not the same. No, it's not that way anymore.
Oh, okay.
Because like you can't do like all the grocery stores in Eugene, all those can returns.
Yeah,
those don't exist anymore.
Well, where do they take the cans?
Oh, you have to take it to the recycling center, and then it's unlimited.
Wow.
But I know exactly what you're saying because like there's a little market next to where I live, so like if I have cans to take out and I'm like, shit, I need to go get a pack of smokes.
Yeah.
So it's like a block and a half away. And I'll take a bag of cans, and I'm not going to put it in the recycling. I'll just leave it next to the dumpster, and then it's like a 3-minute walk each way or whatever.
Yeah.
And by the time I come back, it's gone.
Oh, yeah.
But I also made somebody's day because out in Oregon, it's like 10 cents a can. So it's like,
no, that's a haul. If you got a way to get to the recycling center.
Well, They have to because that's their job.
No, I just remember they hated that guy in that red Toyota because he would just haul ass up and down the alleyways, and they would like throw shit at him and yell at him and stuff.
Sure, yeah, that guy probably got fucking murdered.
But you know what? He came. But I talked to him one day and I asked him, and he came up doing that. That's how he saved his.
That guy's like, I remember.
He saved his money from cans.
Like the Jimi Hendrix painting on the side of his shitty little fucking Datsun or Toyota.
Yeah, and he had a big wire, like a wire fence around, so you could just pile that thing up full of cans. Yeah. And they hated him, but I asked him one day, and he said,
that's the same guy.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I came out to
see
you for the first time.
Yeah,
when
no, same dude.
Living over at Alderwood.
They hated him.
And, dude, I think those apartments got torn down, by the way. But
well, they probably did. They were shitty.
Oh, dude, you wouldn't believe, like, Eugene. You got to come back out.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, we were there just that one night for that concert, but we didn't go downtown or anything. We just went to that. We went to the
hotel.
The World. What was the place called? The
World Pies. Yeah, and there was like fucking.
We stayed at that hotel.
We went down to the green room or whatever. And
everybody.
It was like a fucking supply closet painted green
with a bong on the table.
Yeah, and I had a backpack full of.
Oh God, yeah, those fucking.
And I remember I left probably what? I don't know. I probably left like fucking a quarter ounce of concentrate of dabs there.
Yeah. No, that was
and
funny.
And you were like, don't you want to go back? I'm like, dude, I work on a farm, man. That shit, we literally grow that shit. Let's get the fuck out.
That stuff was just like fucking knock your ass out, fucking potent.
No, you guys weren't ready for it. Nobody's ready for it. Let's federally legalize, and then if you want buy from Oregon. We're the best.
I mean, I used to get that Bruce Banner stuff, and that would be, come in 29, 30, something like that. And I thought that was high test, but that bastard skunk that you had was just like, whew, yeah. Well, hey, on that
skunk, bastard skunk coming only from Dreamweaver Organics. If we're plugging things,
nice. All right. On that note, we've gone about 56 minutes and 30 seconds, and that's probably about our time limit. Nobody else wants to listen to us babble for that much longer. So, thanks for coming on, brother. It was good to talk with you. Glad we got to have you on the show.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Anyway, once again, ladies and gentlemen, my youngest brother, Bernie File, here in the studio tonight. Hope everybody's doing well. Stay up, take care of each other, and all things be kind and do no harm. Peace out. And that's it.
All right, we did one.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you're going to do with it.